People in the valley used to laugh at him, not because he was cruel, not because he was strange, but because to them he looked useless. While others rushed through life like they were being chased, he moved slowly. While others argued, he listened. While others fought the world, he seemed to let the world pass through him. His name was Shen, and the villagers called him the man who did nothing.
After the flood, after the fire, after the open gate and the retreating army, the valley stopped laughing at Shen. They started watching him, not with respect, with suspicion, because Shen's calm did something dangerous to people who live on labels. If he was right, then their panic had been unnecessary, and people will forgive a man for being wrong. They do not forgive a man for proving them foolish. So the villagers returned to their favorite religion, naming everything: good, bad, reward, punishment. One cold morning, with mist lying across the paddies like wet cloth, Shen's old horse vanished. The rope was still tied, the post was still standing, only the knot had slipped loose, like a hand letting go in the dark. By noon, the whole village knew, not because they had searched, because mouths are faster than feet. Men at the well shook their heads, women on doorsteps whispered prayers, old farmers clicked their tongues like judges. A horse running away is a sign. Sign of what? Of trouble, of course. Han arrived at Shen's yard with a face of urgency, too eager, almost grateful for a new crisis. He pointed at the empty tether like it was evidence. "You hear that?" he said loudly so others could listen. "The gods take when they are angry." A few villagers gathered at a distance, not to help, but to witness, to see if Shen would finally react like everyone else. Wei came too, carrying kindling, breath steaming. He looked at the empty post, then at Shen. Shen was fixing a loose plank on the fence, as if the world had not changed. Han couldn't stand the silence. "Aren't you going to curse?" he demanded. "Aren't you going to chase it? Aren't you going to do something?" Shen tapped the plank into place, then stood. He looked toward the fog where the path disappeared. Then he said one word: "Maybe."
Han blinked, offended. Maybe what? Shen's voice stayed even. Maybe it's bad luck. A ripple went through the villagers. Bad luck, spoken calmly, felt like an insult to their fear. Wei felt something tighten in his chest, because maybe sounded peaceful and also unbearable. Han leaned in, voice sharp. "You talk like a man with nothing to lose. A horse is labor. A horse is food." Shen didn't argue. He picked up a small broom by the door and swept the mud from his threshold. Scritch. Silence. Scritch. The sound was small, but it made Han furious because it was the sound of a man refusing to panic on command. Wei asked softly, "Uncle Shen, should we look?" Shen met Wei's eyes. "Look if you want," he said, "but don't poison your mind with certainty." Han scoffed. "Certainty?" he spat. "The horse is gone." Shen's broom paused. "You know it's gone," he said. "You don't know what it means." That night, the villagers talked itself into knots. Some said Shen had offended heaven. Some said enemies were coming. Some said it was proof his luck was finally ending. They didn't sleep inside the truth. They slept inside stories. Wei couldn't either. He went to Shen's house and found him under the eaves, listening to rain tap the roof. Wei asked, "Do you really not care?" Shen watched a drop fall, hit mud, and vanish. Then he said, "Care is not the same as panic." Wei lowered his gaze. He wanted to understand, but understanding felt like trying to hold water. 2 days later, at dawn, the horse returned out of the mist. Not alone. A wild horse followed behind it, stronger, darker, restless like storm weather. The valley erupted, not with gratitude, with hunger. Men stared as if they had already owned it. Han's eyes shone like a man counting coins. "This is good luck," someone said quickly, as if saying it could lock it in place. Shen only said, "Maybe." The villagers hated that word even more when the second horse was standing right in front of them, because maybe threatened their celebration the same way it had threatened their fear.
That afternoon, Han insisted the wild horse be tamed immediately. "Why wait?" he said. "A gift is a gift." Wei's stomach tightened. He didn't want to look cowardly, he didn't want to look ungrateful, and he didn't want to be the only one not celebrating. So he stepped forward. He tried to mount the wild horse. For a heartbeat, the crowd cheered, already writing the story where Wei became a hero. Then the horse exploded upward like it was trying to throw off the sky itself. We hit the ground hard. Pain flashed white through his leg. He tried to stand. He couldn't. Silence fell like a blade, and the village did what villages always do when joy turns into fear. They named it. Bad luck, a curse, a warning. Han's voice shook with anger that was really terror. "We should never have touched it," he muttered. "We tempted fate." Wei lay in the mud, jaw clenched, hearing people label his pain as if words could make it less frightening. Days later, soldiers came to take men for war. They lined the young men up like tools. Mothers cried without hiding it. Fathers stared at the ground as if staring could keep a son from being seen. Wei was dragged forward too because he was of age. He stood shaking on his injured leg, face pale, trying not to show weakness. An officer looked down at him, not with pity, with contempt. "Useless," he said. "Dead weight." Then he waved him away like trash. "Leave him." The soldiers marched off with the healthy men. When the last helmet disappeared into the mist, the village did not cheer. They just stood there, stunned, because they finally saw the chain. The injury they had called bad luck had spared Wei from the war they were terrified of. Han turned towards Shen. His face looked hollow, like something inside him had been removed. Wei walked towards Shen slowly, like approaching something he didn't understand but could no longer deny. And in that silence, the word maybe stopped sounding like surrender. It started sounding like truth.